Yo, you know what time it is. It's your boy Trevor David Jones back at it. And as you can see in the title, today we've got another edition of TDJ Ranks. Today a very special edition. Top 10 films of all time. Movies absolutely pivotal in nerd culture. Not even just comic book movies, man. Like, just movies in general. So today, to give you a deeper look into my spirit and also into like the best films of all time, we're going to do the top 10 films of all time. Let's get it. Okay, number 10, The Aviator. The Aviator is a classic. It's a modern classic. The thing about The Aviator is, I've often said, if Leonardo DiCaprio should have won an Academy Award for any movie, it should have been The Aviator. I don't know why he didn't win it, that year. There's probably a deeper conspiracy to why it took Leo so long to win an Academy Award, but that's not the purpose or scope of this video. So, he should have won it that year. Man, that movie's crazy. It's got Howard Hughes, man. It's the story of Howard Hughes. He's already rich when it starts, so it kind of goes along his, not really downfall, but just his mental, struggles that are, well documented. But seeing it on film is just crazy. Leo plays the part, I would say, 9 near to perfection. Like perfection. It's too good. I remember when I finally saw The Aviator, and I'm not sure what prompted me to watch it because, as I've said in another video, my top 10 actors, Leo's not really one of my favorite actors of all time, but I decided to watch it. And it's amazing. And he does so good in it. I mean, it's Houston, city I'm from. You got Howard Hughes in there, a lot of star-studded actors. It's a crazy film. And just to see, the twists and turns of Howard Hughes' life, specifically his mind, it's just, man. Yeah, it's so good. It's the number 10 on my list. So go out and see The Aviator. Leo, you should have won an Academy Award for it. I still believe that to this day. Great film. Great way to start off the list. Number 9, Enter the Dragon. What you gonna do without Enter the Dragon? It's just a classic film. It's one of those films that when I was a child, probably like a lot of us, it would come on late night on TNT or even UPN back in the day. And you're like, what is this? But it's got, I don't even want to mention it because he's so, legendary. Bruce Lee. Do I need to invoke the name of Bruce Lee? I just did. Yeah, man. Bruce Lee's one of my favorite people of all time. But again, that's not the purpose of this list. So, yeah. Enter the Dragon. It came on when we were kids, probably late night. But that movie in no way, shape, or form is for kids. It's just not. Even amongst martial arts films or films in general, it's kind of weird. It's kind of eerie. The music, the famous mirror scene, the slashes across the chest. It's got some off-kilter vibes to it, but it's just so good. Seeing Bruce Lee beat the holy blank out of people for 2 hours, however long that movie is it's great, man. But it's got the little story, the island, he confronts the villain. Yeah, I could watch Enter the Dragon right now. It's still a little creepy, but it's top maybe 3, definitely top 5 martial arts films of all time, just on its own. And it makes number 9 films of all time on my list. If for whatever reason you haven't seen Enter the Dragon, I would say it's Bruce Lee's greatest film, R.I.P. That was a long time ago, but still R.I.P. Yeah. Easy entry for top 10 films of all time. Number 8, The Prince of Egypt. All right, now we're getting to animation. If you watch this channel, obviously you know animation's a big part of my life. Big part of what I'm into. So you gotta have some animated feature films on this top 10 list. Prince of Egypt is one of the best films of all time, period. It was actually Prince of Egypt that got me into, it was another film. I'll get to that in a second. But Prince of Egypt was where I started realizing, I think I actually like movies. It was just too good. I mean, the way it carried the story from beginning to end, and we've all been to Sunday school, we've been to church, so you know the story of Exodus of Moses. But the way they put it into that film was just, it's DreamWorks' best film, period. It's not Disney's, most people probably think. Obviously, it's not Pixar. It's a DreamWorks film, and I could go look, but it's DreamWorks' best film, more than likely. It's just too good. And it's also got a star-studded cast, man. It's got Patrick Stewart, Sandra Bullock. It's got a lot of people up in that movie. Freaking Val Kilmer plays Moses and God. Moses and God. So when Moses is at the burning bush, he's talking to himself. There you go. And of course, Val Kilmer played Batman. As I've often said, and I'm very serious about this, Batman can find his way into just about anything, and he will. Batman found his way onto this list. but he's on this list anyway. But we'll get to that way later. But yeah, you got Batman playing Moses and God. That's dope. Insane movie, great animation, heart-wrenching. The story is executed near to perfection. It's got, like I said, just go Wikipedia or IMDb the cast. You're going to be shocked. It's got people in it you didn't know were in it. Prince of Egypt, an all-time classic. My number 8 film, period, of all time. Number 7, Princess Mononoke. Okay, now we're taking it across the pond, the opposite pond, the Pacific pond, over to Japan. One of my favorite, entities of all time. Princess Mononoke. I think I've seen just about every Studio Ghibli film, except for like Ponyo, a couple ones that are too sad. And I haven't seen Kiki's Delivery Service for whatever reason. I might go back and watch that. But Howl's Moving Castle, Nausicaa, Spirited Away. I've seen all those films. Princess Mononoke is just in another league than all of those movies. Plain and simple. It's like they made all the movies that execute on the Studio Ghibli formula, which all of them do. There are no poor or even substandard Studio Ghibli films. But Princess Mononoke is just somewhere way out there. And it achieves that point in gorgeous style. Just from the opening, the man gets cursed, jacks his arm up, but it actually makes him stronger, like a lot stronger. Bro, that classic scene where after he gets cursed and the dude fires the arrow at him, catches it, puts it back on his bow, fires at a homeboy, and he just explodes when it hits him. I was like, yo, this is some different type stuff. And Princess Mononoke, despite having a lot of kind of eerie elements, a lot of blood, a lot of action, it's still one of those rare films that with all those elements, I can say that kids could watch it. It doesn't dive into it too much to the point that it's gratuitous. It focuses on, as we all know, the themes of Princess Mononoke, the environment, saving nature. Obviously, there's a romance element to it. It's just a crazy film, man. And Princess Mononoke was my favorite film for a long time. I just put it over everything. Because still to this day, animated, I don't know. I'm not sure if I've seen anything quite like it. It's Studio Ghibli's best film, like I said, kind of by a large margin. But yeah, it took a long time before anything really dethroned Princess Mononoke for me. You got the forest spirit in there, just creepy enough. The little click heads. Man, yeah. Yeah, it's just too good. It's just too good. Highly recommended. If you're looking for a way to get into animated films or get into anime in general, even ahead of shows like Naruto, which is the best anime of all time, a whole bunch of different stuff, Dragon Ball Z, so on and so forth. If someone said, how do I get into anime? I wouldn't give them no shonen, no bishoujo. I would give them Princess Mononoke ahead of Akira, Ninja Scroll, all that, and just say start here. And you can build your way up out of there. It's iconic, it's timeless, it's a classic, it's beautiful. It's number 7 on my list of top 10 films of all time. Number 6, here we go. Rounding out the starting 5, The Last Samurai. The Last Samurai is a classic. It got a lot of flack for having The Last Samurai be a white American, but take that for what you will. If you just put that to the side or even include it, it's a great film. I was going to say Prince of Egypt is a film that got me into thinking, oh, this is my favorite film, or this is my top 1 film. It was Last Samurai. I remember it specifically. I saw it in theaters. I remember who I saw it with in 2003. I was like, oh, not only do I like films, this is my favorite film of all time. That's the movie that did it. Again, executed with near flawless, perfection in a way. I don't like to use the P word, but I'm gonna just use it here. We're doing that. Almost like flawless perfection. The costume work is immaculate. Those samurai suits, the armor, even the American, the kind of post-Civil War uniforms, crazy. The scenery of Japan, mesmerizing. If someone had an inkling that they wanted to visit Japan or that they wanted to go there before seeing that film would consecrate it. It pulls off the mysticism, the wonder, the mystique, obviously the beauty of Japan flawlessly. It's just gorgeous. And then the story is just great. Tom Cruise gets captured and he doesn't speak a lick of Japanese. Obviously, this is way back in the day. It wasn't no Duolingo. There was no way for him to learn Japanese in America in general. They raise him up. He starts observing the Japanese people. He's like, I understand their ways. Then he meets the girl. And that was I like how they did the really offhand, there wasn't any touchy-feely with the romance. They didn't even touch each other at all, almost. But, you know, you knew that he was falling in love with the woman and the Japanese woman with him too. The armor scene is like where the romance came to a head, so to speak. But it was just done so tastefully. It was just like, man, then he learns how to fight. Then, you know, he becomes, you know, really allies with the leader of the Japanese village. And I could just go on and on. It's just a great film. The bridge scene, come on, man. Yeah, chills right now just thinking about it. It's a little cold out here too, but nah, that's just timeless. And I think Last Samurai is almost like 3 hours long, and this is like in the early 2000s. So this is before films really started hammering down on just the over an hour and a half formula over the 2 hour formula. It's a pretty long movie, but it will keep you engaged the entire way. It was the first film where I said, yo, this is my favorite film of all time. More films came after it, but that was the first one. I can go watch it right now. Actually, I watched it like 3 or 4 months ago. I think it was on TBS, actually, and it was just as good as I remembered, if not better. The final scene with the Gatling gun, come on, man. This is The Last Samurai we're talking about. Shout out Tom Cruise. He's on my list of top 10 actors of all time, so Last Samurai more than achieves and deserves its place in my top 10 films, period, of all time. So now, top five. Heavy hitters. These are all heavy hitters, though. Princess Mononoke, come on, man. These are all heavy hitters. Wedding Crashers. Wedding Crashers is the only comedy on this list, and deservedly so. Again, I remember when I saw Wedding Crashers, I was in the theater. I remember who I was with. Wedding Crashers is one of those films that also gets a shout out and a special place on this list, a necessary place on this list, because it's a film that you couldn't make today. You can't make Wedding Crashers in this day and age. The sensitivities are just at another level. Wedding Crashers was too funny. It was like, it might have been like the last kind of comedy of that age, of that era, where they really pushed the boundaries that much. It was just great. You know, it has one of my favorite, my only honorable mention for favorite actors in it of all time, Owen Wilson. It's got prime Vince Vaughn. You got Will Ferrell in there. That movie is insane from start to finish. And I think it was like an original script as well. So it's like, you know, that was back in another time. Well, they were doing sequels back then. You know, that's a big staple of Hollywood. But it's rare to see like truly original properties or truly original scripts just in general. You know, we know why. We know how the Hollywood formula works. But yeah, an original script. And it's just the premise of some dudes that go around like, just like jumping into weddings for the express purpose of like hooking up, like, you know, making moves on chicks, like psycho. It's just so crazy, but it works so well. Like, you don't even have to do all. Let me stay on topic. Yeah. And then they took the premise and then just ran to the utmost with it. It's a great film. You know, they finally get in with the one family where things kind of start falling apart, partially because Owen Wilson starts falling in love. It's just the whole progression from beginning to end of the characters. It's got one of my favorite lines from any film that I still think of to this day. Vince Vaughn's like, you better get your ass to that wedding. Just classic. Just classic. It's a great film. It's my number 5 film of all time. I could watch it right now and be literally in tears. If for whatever reason you haven't seen Wedding Crashers, it's a shining example of 2000s comedy, of comedy in general. It's Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn at the height of their powers. It's a great film. It was different. It was just different, you know. But not just that. It's also hilarious. It's got freaking Christopher Walken in there. You know what I'm saying? I think Rachel McAdams is in that movie. Yeah, man. A-list/S-list cast. You cannot go wrong with Wedding Crashers. Number 5 on my list, best films of all time. Number 4. Now, these are getting into like, these next 4 are all what I would say like transcendent films. Of course, the top 3 is a podium. But these next 4 are all, they're just out there somewhere. Number 4, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. Whew. If people stopped making action films after Terminator 2, I wouldn't be surprised. If they saw that and were like, well, you know, that's it, you know, wouldn't be surprised. Nah, you always got to keep moving forward. But anyways, it crystallized the action movie genre to this very day. I have not seen an action film of any type, comic book, shooting, you know, martial arts, that I'm like, oh, this is just better than Terminator 2. Nah. Bless you. It was just too advanced. James Cameron broke his foot off in that movie. And so did Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's on my top 10 actors of all time. You have to question to yourself why that film is so good. Just why? Because it is. Again, that's a movie a lot of us saw as a child, probably late night on TNT, maybe saw with your parents for whatever reason. But you got to watch that movie as an adult to really understand how good it truly is. Because it's like all these top four films, it's transcendent. It just has elements that any other action film doesn't have, or even at the peak of their abilities, doesn't match what Terminator 2 is doing. So it's always going to be out there somewhere. Arnold is back. He's as swole as ever. Maybe even a little more swole. You know what I'm saying? T1 or Terminator 1, which is almost a horror film. That film is scary, man. You know, anytime you see that silver skeleton, you're like, doom and gloom. Like, this is some doomsday type stuff. Judgment Day. Nah, guess what? Terminator's a good guy in this film, and he's back to protect John Connor. What? Cray. Man carries a shotgun. He's just firing it off the hip at anyone who runs up. Oh, we've got a new villain. The T-1000, a liquid, man, and for the early 90s, they really pulled that CGI off to like the highest conceivable level. It's just gorgeous. And it gives the impression of, bro, like, conjure up the T-1000 in your mind right now and him turning into liquid or the spike hands, and you'll feel that chill, that cool chill of fear just run through your body because it was scary and it pulled it off. Did he even have any lines in that film? I don't think so. Just silent and purely bent on destruction. It really got across the unstoppable nature of both the T-800 and the T-1000, the Terminators in general. The time travel hadn't gotten too out of hand yet, so you could still get a grip on the plot. The camera work was gorgeous, motorcycle scenes, shooting people, the final helicopter and like the building scene, the strength of Arnold Schwarzenegger, of the Terminator himself. There are no wasted frames. There are no wasted scenes in that movie. It is insane. It's the peak of the action genre. It just is. So, yeah. Anyone watching this video has probably seen Terminator 2 at some point in their life, but as an adult, you got to go back and watch it because you can understand how good it really is. Arnold Schwarzenegger throws a little bit of his comedy chops in there, you know, just a little bit. Arnold Schwarzenegger is hilarious, by the way, but, you know, even in that extremely serious role, literally playing a robot, he throws some comedy in there. It's a great film. Number 4 on my list, shout out James Cameron as well. You know, Terminator 2, I could watch that right now. Number 4 movie of all time. Number 3, The Podium. Getting deep. Kill Bill 1 and 2. Crumpled my script. Emotion. I could sit here and make a whole video about Kill Bill. Hear that silence? Too advanced. Kill Bill, man. Now you're talking about a movie that's just too good. You know, Quentin Tarantino is already OP as it is. Iconic, a timeless director. You know, all his movies have some sort of action elements in them. But to make what we would call like a pure martial arts film and just absolutely hit that mug out of the park is just, it was transformative. Again, like I've said about a couple things in my past videos, it was a revelation. Again, I remember seeing Kill Bill 1 and 2 in the theaters. I remember who I was with. I remember where I was. These are timeless films. I mean, Kill Bill 1, the opening, wiggle your big toe, the crazy 88, bro, Beatrix Kiddo, wrecking shop, bro, on the crazy 88, breakdancing on the floor, like slicing people's Achilles tendons, like, bro. Everything's going to black and white. Everything about that film, and we didn't have any lead up to this. Like I said, Quentin Tarantino didn't have like a history. He had to put the script up of making like multiple martial arts films. So who was ready for this? No one. It came out of nowhere, but much like a comet, it had like the maximum impact possible. Yeah. Kill Bill was crazy. It has the A to S list cast. You got Uma Thurman in there. You got frickin' David Carradine of Kung Fu fame. You got Lucy Liu. Kill Bill was just too good. And then, you skip forward, and they left us with the cliffhanger after number 1. They made us wait 2 years. 2, I used to really favor 1 over 2, but I realized that they're both amazing. 2 is more story heavy. But then 2 has breaking out of the coffin and the Pai Mei scene. Crazy 88 could be the best scene. You know, like I said, breakdancing on the floor, slicing people's legs, black and white. Even the fight between Beatrix Kiddo and Lucy Liu, like Oren Ishii. The anime scene? Bro, come on, man. But the Pai Mei scene, coupled with breaking out of the coffin, is the best scene in both of those films. I don't even have to get too deep into it. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. This is some out there type stuff. Just advanced. It's too good. I could go on for a long time about Kill Bill. And the thing about Kill Bill is, and actually like the next, actually all top 4 of my top 4 films are like quote unquote action films. And I said Terminator 2 perfected the genre. It did. These are higher, but like Kill Bill has martial arts. It's an action film, but you know, it's definitely a martial arts film for sure. So, you know, it climbs above, but yeah, man, Kill Bill it's just, you hear the silence? Number 3 film, both of them together of all time, amazing. Martial arts, hit my heart, you know, defeating the 5 people, had the list. Yeah, Kill Bill, just, literally timeless. Number 3 film, Kill Bill 1 and 2 combined of all time. Yes. Number 2, okay. So I say this a lot, but I mean it. This would genuinely be the number 1 film of all time if it weren't for the actual number 1 film. Because it's super advanced, it's super good, and it's just, yeah, it's way out there. Number 2 film of all time, The Matrix. Yeah. Like nearly all these films, I remember who I was with and what I was doing when I saw The Matrix. My mom actually rented it in 1999. I was watching this like in the middle of the night. So like, The Matrix, it's not that kids can't watch it. It's just there's too much going on for most children to really understand. It was also rated R, so you know. Should I have been watching it? I don't know, but I saw the whole movie. You know, when it came out on video. I didn't think too much of it. I knew I had seen it for my whole life. I remember like Neo dodging the bullets and so on and so forth. But Matrix didn't stick. Remember, by this point, I'd already seen Princess Mononoke. I had seen Terminator 2. I had seen Prince of Egypt. And mentally, I knew like I love these movies. Matrix, it didn't really stick with me aside from the fact that I remember watching it in the middle of the night and just, you know, like, oh, this is probably a movie for adults. Years, and I mean years later, I saw this film on Netflix, actually. Probably within the last couple years, actually. Yeah, Matrix is, like I said, if it weren't for the number 1, it would be the best film of all time. You can't really put anything above The Matrix. It's just, even though I did, but we'll get to that in a second. The Matrix was ahead of its time, and it still is ahead of its time. It's 2020, almost 3, and The Matrix is still ahead of its time. What were they really trying to tell people in that film? That's what I have obviously a lot of ideas, but this month came out in theaters in mainstream America, like the world, but it was getting into like alternate dimensions, consciousness, the nature of reality. Are we even in the real world? Like, man, the action, which is one of the premier elements of the entire film, like I'll get to that in a second, is supplemented by the spiritual and like, you know, philosophical thought-based elements of that film. Like the Wachowski brothers, sisters, you know, at this point in time, they crafted together with the needles at the stitching board with the fabric, the best film of all time. The Matrix, if you let it, you know, if you see it, can completely shift like your idea of reality. And it's not to the point where you go out and like go live on a farm and do it. Maybe some people have. It might have affected them like that. But really, if it gets you, you're going to be like, what's going on? And how and why did they make this? So that's just the conceptual aspect of the film, which I could go deeper into. Now for like what's also a standout element of it, just the action. The Matrix, once again, the Wachowski sisters cooked up something that was real different, that literally changed film to this in 2023 to this very day. The tentpole moment where action films are like, you know, movement in action. altered was in 1999 when Matrix came out. And nothing has supplanted it to this day, 24 years later. Bro, bullet time, like as an actual effect, like as an actual device that's kind of woven into the plot of the film, came from the Matrix. That was, now you got it, Max Payne. Bullet time is like a staple of everything, of video games, movies, everything. But Neo dodging the bullets, man, nah. Or at the end when he gets more control of his powers and he's like really, they're firing the automatic machine gun fire at him and he just dodges all that. The final fight with Agent Smith, oh no, I'm getting too deep in the game now. Nah. Anything you think of as like action was, you could trace it back to 1999. There's stuff before that, but like the way things are today, it's rooted in the Matrix. And it's like, again, where do they even get these ideas from? Wearing all black like as like a real style, like, yeah, the Matrix. Then the acting, bro. You want to talk about top tier, like S tier? The main three actors are Keanu Reeves, Trinity. Her name's escaping me at this moment, but I definitely know who she is. And Lawrence Fishburne are like the top three actors. So, like how can you go wrong with that? Like these are like max level heavy hitters just in the film. They're like, hey, I'll put the suit on, all black, low wires, we can get you laced up with the martial arts, hold this film down. And all of them did. They all did. Yeah, nah, the story of the Matrix, which is, as pivotal to the plot as anything else, is, yeah, just the story is crazy, very spiritual, very deep, just very good. If it weren't for the number one film, The Matrix would be my number one film, because it's just so far ahead of anything else to this day in 2023. So yeah, man, Matrix, shout out Keanu Reeves, shout out Wachowski sisters, shout out Lawrence Fishburne, shout out, I know the actress' name, y'all got me. Yeah, man. Yeah. You can't go wrong with The Matrix, number 2 film of all time. Number 1, I don't even need my script, it's still in my pocket. The number 1 film of all time, without question, holds it down. Nothing is truly better than this film, so it just has to be put at number 1. The Dark Knight. Yeah, Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. It's hard to even describe this film to this day. Yeah. It came out, 2008? Again, I remember who I was with, what I was doing, what theater I was at, so on and so forth. It's all locked in there. Okay. So Batman's my favorite fictional character of all time. I've said this numerous times. It's on the list. It's in the video. It's in the YouTube channel description and my Instagram page description and my Twitter. Yeah, man, Batman, he's OP. This movie took everything that Batman is and like crystallized it into such a flawless form that it's hard to articulate, but that's what I'm about to do. I mean, just from the opening. I remember the opening scene. The bank heist with the Joker. They're all wearing the Joker mask. No one really knows what's going on. And, Joker puts the smoke bomb in Homeboy's mouth. You're a clown, or when crime used to have class, or whatever he said. Joker's like, takes off his mask. What do you say? Why so serious? Or where his line was, like, there's a new whatever in town. Something to that effect. But you see the Joker's face, and it's Heath Ledger, and he's got the barely visible scars, and his makeup's still fresh at the beginning of the film. Got the crazy hair. You're like, oh, we're in for something. He gets out, gets on the bus, and it sneaks into the line of the other buses as they like escape, stealthily out of the bank heist. At that moment, I was in the theater like, bro, what is this? In shock. And I wasn't even a kid at this point, or even a teenager, a young adult. So I was like, but still, it put me in that state of shock. Like when you're a kid and you see Goku go Super Saiyan for the first time. Actually, no, I don't know if anything really measures up to that. But it was along those lines, put into a state of shock as an adult. And it just continues from there. I mean, this is fresh off of Batman Begins. Well, 3 years, actually, which was a great film. It really is. I've watched Batman Begins as an adult again, later. It's better than I remember. It's a great film. But, Dark Knight took any expectations, anything we knew about the franchise, whatever we thought, and just, like, magnified it. It's an expansion in every way, shape, or form of the first film. And it's almost in a different style and, like, a different lane than the first film. It's just better, but it doubles down on the grittiness, on, like, the realism. it's just a better film. So Christian Bale's back in action, one of my favorite actors of all time. He holds the... We don't even got to get into all that. Bless you again. Christian Bale obviously holds it down. Batman. I mean, it's got the suit coming out of in the glass case out of the ground in the new Batcave. It's got him solving crimes that are essentially impossible to solve. Batman. Bro, the going to China scene, that's like... The film has so many marquee moments. Batman versus Joker in the streets with the truck. But the going to the China scene, I had to watch that again multiple times to realize how OP, how crazy that scene really is. Just from inception to completion. When he's like, yeah, you know, Joker's like, nah, Batman has no jurisdiction. He's going to hunt you down and come and get you. Like, you can't run from Batman. This dude's a cop? Bro, like, you see this man's suit? He doesn't have any borders. He's going to find you. And then Batman, like, puts the plan together with the map, the fake out with the Russian ballet dancers on the ship. Nah. Yeah, it just gets into, like, the overpowering just nature of Batman in and of himself. So it has that aspect. Then it's hard to say what's the best aspect of the film because it's literally all good. There's no, you know, I can't think of any hang-ups in the film really whatsoever. Even the runtime, the movie's kind of long, but it's just so good the whole way through. Bro, it's got Two-Face. Hold on, let me get to that in a second. It had Heath Ledger's performance. To this day, I still haven't seen an individual performance better than Heath Ledger's Joker. R.I.P. I don't think anyone has. That you're like, oh, that just surpasses Heath Ledger's Joker. Name it. I'll wait. Put it in the comments. I'm not going to debate you. Maybe. Depends how I feel, but... yeah, it's the best acting performance put on film. You know, it was transcendent. And again, this is along the same vein of Robert Downey Jr. cast as Iron Man and Heath Ledger cast as Joker. I used to have a subscription to GQ, so I got both of those issues with those actors on the cover saying, you know, they got the role. And I remember Robert Downey Jr. I was like, oh man, like blah, blah, blah. How is this possible? What are they doing? We know how that turned out. Okay, yeah. Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. All right, let's keep it moving. And the last time I doubted like a casting or anything, to this day, you know, I'll have my opinions, but like that serious doubt where I'm like, oh no, was Heath Ledger as Joker? I remember getting the issue. They were like casting The Dark Knight, A Knight's Tale, freaking 10 Things I Hate About You. Heath Ledger, I was like, bro, what are they thinking? I've never doubted any casting or anything since. Transcendent. Somewhere out there in space somewhere. Posthumous Academy Award. We all know the story. Yeah, man. Every scene where he came in there, you didn't even know it was him. You didn't even know it was anybody but literally the Joker. Too good. Then they had my man Aaron Eckhart in there. Holding it down as freaking Two-Face. Came through in the third act of the film and absolutely shattered it. He's one of the zaniest but like craziest, also best parts of the film. It's like shooting people off the cuff. Yeah, man, Harvey Two-Face. Come on. Bro, the action, Batman, Maggie Gyllenhaal held it down in that movie. You know, Lawrence Fishburne. Y'all got me. I'm deep in the movie game right now. But yeah, it's just, yeah, the whole film is insane. It doesn't stop from start to finish. It has the mood. It's the best Batman film. It's the best comic book film of all time, and it's literally it's the best film. It's the best film of all time. The Dark Knight is just Christopher Nolan. You know, probably the best modern director. Maybe my favorite director. Interstellar, Inception. He broke his foot off in that film permanently. It's still in there. He's walking around probably a wooden foot right now because his foot is still in that film. It broke it all the way off in there. It's just too good. And yeah, with no contention, I'm open. Again, before The Dark Knight, my favorite film was since 2003 was The Last Samurai. No film topped it. Just even Kill Bill, which came out after Last Samurai, I was like, this film was awesome, but Last Samurai is just too good. Katana action, all that stuff. The Dark Knight, when I saw that in theaters, I said, oh, this is the best film of all time. It's just better than The Last Samurai, which is saying a lot, because that film is, you know, it's transcendent. Whew, The Dark Knight, well-deserved. My favorite, and actually, the #1 best film of all time. And that's it. That was a fun list. Like I said, it's kind of a tie between the Lego videos and these TDJ ranks, which are my favorite ones to do. But this was a lot of fun. Top 10 films, nerd culture. We out here. Check out my Black Panther review. Amazing film, Marvel's best film. I was about to say the rating, that'd be a spoiler. Check out that review and check out that film. My Hero Academia. At the time of filming this, the newest episode just came out yesterday. Watched it, did that review. I mean, the show, it's getting kind of scary now, actually. The season started out scary, but now it's getting kind of deep. But it's amazing. The animation, characters, the powers, it's all there. Check out my review on that as well. And my Lego video, like I said, it's hard for me to really decide if I like these Lego videos more or these TDJ ranks, but they're both good. Building Legos is fun. They're a fundamental element, building block of nerd culture. So check out my last video, The Mandalorian Starfighter, as well. Super beautiful, super fun. And hey man, the holidays are coming up, so your kids might need some Legos. You might need some Legos. Check that out. And as I always say, because I genuinely mean it, stay up. You never want to be this direction in life, always this direction. Keep that in mind and in heart, and that's it. I'ma see y'all next time, very soon as always, and peace.